Rogers and Associates, a sturdy small-town business in northern Texas. The year is 1966, and the marketing department of this middleman organization is missing a manager. The previous overseer, Mr. Jonathan Goodwell, was elected to receive a promotion after 5 years with the company. Now, David Bowman will be elected by Andrew Rogers, CEO of Rogers and Associates, to fill Mr. Goodwell's position after a series of interviews and on-the-job shadowing. During this process, Mr. Rogers and Mr. Bowman will develop a sense of friendship that extends well outside of the workplace. All was well for the first 6 months of David Bowman's employment until one January afternoon on the office lunch break.
The sermon was dry yesterday, if you ask me. Reverend Jones is starting to show his tenure.
You know it's not right to doubt the way the Reverend speaks, Greg.
Now, everyone's entitled to their own opinion about the way Reverend Jones speaks.
How would you know, Dave? It's not like you go to church there.
You know, come to think of it, Dave, I haven't seen you involved with any of the churches around here. So why don't you and your wife come out next Sunday and see what Reverend Jones has to say firsthand?
Well, I'm flattered you invited me, but I just don't think I would fit in with the crowd.
Come on, everybody's got good spirits at Riverside Congregation. Why don't you come on Sunday?
I'd like to. I think I'll have to turn down your offer, though. I mean, I am an atheist man. Over the next week and a half, the strange behavior on the office's behalf continued. This tight-knit community of churchgoers had found a black sheep among them, and they had no intention to accept this betrayal from the person that is supposed to be their superior. When Andrew Rogers returned to the office, Mr. Bowman approached him about the conditions that have been taken over the office. After hearing the situation, Mr. Rogers became very active in the office life, interviewing his workers in order to discuss the treatment of the formerly well-liked Bowman.
I don't know why I'm being questioned. I didn't do anything.
Well, the office's attitude towards Bowman has changed, and I'm just trying to figure out why.
Alright. Yeah, I don't like him.
Well, why?
Because I don't think it's right that he's not part of the church, especially in a time like this. The guy is bad news, and he didn't even try hiding it.
So, because he can't get himself into the church, you think it's alright to not follow his orders around the office?
Yep, and you should do the same. This is a Christian town and a Christian office where Christian employees are working, and you did not take that into consideration when you hired him. Unless you fire him, I'll walk. He doesn't belong here.
I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
Well, the atmosphere of the office has certainly changed since last month, and Mr. Bowman thinks it has something to do with his religious preferences.
What? That's obscene. But you might be interested in what he does, like, around the office.
What do you mean? Has he been mistreating people?
Yeah, namely you. I mean, have you checked the petty cash fund recently? Or I bet you'd find something in the paperwork files in his office.
Well, are you sure? Because I don't want to waste my time looking into evidence that I'm never going to find.
Yeah, I'm definitely sure, and I think you will be too.
Rogers considered this notion, and there was a firing. Mr. David Bowman was fired from Rogers and Associates after 7 months of employment. The reason being that he was not fulfilling his duties as manager of the office. During Rogers' investigation of the office, it was discovered that there was petty cash missing from the fund, but the loss of money could not be traced back to Mr. Bowman's actions. Mr. Bowman suspected the office guilty of religious discrimination under the newly enacted Civil Rights Act. He planned to use the transcripts of the interviews that Rogers had held with the office workers. The trial went to court and was heard in front of a jury with a mildly conservative Texan judge. How do you think that the case was judged?